Bali. Again, I'm still not sure how to pronounce this, which is called Position Music, Production Music, Volume 38, Anti Sleep Volume 1 from 2021, which mostly seems to be a number of different tracks. Not really sure what's going on with this album, but it is kind of heavy hitting, punchy. So we'll roll with it. We're still starting out this morning. All right. Where we are starting out is we're actually on Homecoming server. We've who is this? Pandemonium Yeah, I know. Try not to sing Panda. We're on Pink Pandemonium. You think I could tell that by the drastic pink color. And apparently we've got a zombie invasion incoming, so I'm going to swap zones. And the point this. Okay, definitely Anti-Sleep is the right name for this album. I'm turning it down a bit. Right. The initial objective for this particular exercise is the chat UI. Now, most of the time, I either have the chat UI empty if I'm on one of the closed off servers or a private server. Homecoming, I'm not really too worried about that. So that's where we're going to do this on. And this really was spawned Mistel. Uh, Shouting, cheater, only got 155 minutes left. Mistel X2, nope. And somebody makes the suggestion, just take this channel out of your chat bar. And the person comes back, I tried. Response, I smell a fib. And rounding off with, I created a new bind just for talking into this channel. Didn't help. So I'm going to say something that's probably self-evident, obvious, obnoxiously painful to point out. Don't use binds to talk in the chat channels. All right. Here's the thing with here's my big problem with binds, at least in a game like City of Heroes. Not only are you using WASD a lot to move around if you're using a standard keyboard, generally speaking, your left hand's going to be on WASD and your right hand's going to be over on the mouse to move it around. Thus, you have camera control and you also have the ability to click on powers that aren't easily accessed. And I've been over this in previous live streams about how you set up your bar here for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Alt 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Control 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that you use your most common slot, the most common powers that you're going to use, and you have those in the slots. And what you want to do is you want to minimize the amount of hand travel that you have. When you are playing with a team, or not necessarily for City of Heroes, where the action can be relatively static, you do have a lot of time, comparatively speaking, to a Twitch game such as Warsaw or Red Eclipse, but keeping in mind where your hands are and how they are moving. And I went in before how when I set up a specific window, and to do that, you just hit the little plus sign here, and you get a new bar. And I like to go 4x3 and punch it over. And I don't want recipes, I want powers. And how I set up the various powers that I might have on this particular bar so that if I'm down here and mousing, I come up and I have a curve either way over the powers that I'm likely to use. Keeping in mind, it's incredibly important. When you start mixing in binds with that, uh, the bind control is limited. And yes, there are keyboards that offer like macro buttons. Generally speaking, they've not been worth it. And keeping in mind, I have creamed the best in the world at their own games on a regular basis. I have creamed the developers at their own games on a regular basis. Most of the gaming specific keyboards you see out there aren't worth the cost. The only thing that really matters is key interaction,
how quickly the key responds, how reliable the key responds, and possibly then beyond that, how it feels to type on. I love drops. I'll have to go look it up, but I had hands on with a drop keyboard that was using a silver linear key, and man, I want one of those. Uh, but those are things that are very drastically more important. Key control, hand control, how you actually are interacting with the system itself. If you're using bind to achieve something that is easily done without a bind, don't do the bind. Even if you're going, but I know the key code memorized. You don't. Just trust me on this. You don't. And you might go, well, I have my keyboard set up this way. Well, okay, fine, that's you. I'm just telling you that it's based on a little thing called physics and hand control, how your hand actually moves. Now, if you are left-handed, your right hand's on the keyboard, 'cause that's how you have it set up. Okay, yeah, you might be better off with an ambidextrous keyboard, uh, say like one of those micro keyboards, especially if you're trying to game, because it gives you more better options on how to position the keyboard for your hand and how your fingers are going to move. I, I, had, I think I singled out the TKO Kinesis and the Drop Alt. Fantastic keyboards, especially if you're doing something like you need a minimized latency and you need a high response and you really need key control. Something like that's going to be a much better option than those. Here, have a macro pad. Yeah, not no, just no. Okay, so if you're not using macros, what really is the best way from a UI standpoint, from user interface standpoint, to arrange your chat window? Well, this is specific to City of Heroes. Not very many games ever implemented a chat system like this. And the closest thing that you might find with the user interface that's close to this might be Discord, which does put all channels on different bars off to the side. I mean, assuming that you are new to various channel working. And one of the key here is, and this is something that has been in City of Heroes since launch. I mean, this goes back that this is before World of Warcraft. This kind of functionality was available. So modern games not doing this, there's not invented here syndrome, and then there's just being bloody. All right, the easiest way to do it is to work with your tabs and work with your existing windows. And you might see as I flop through these various windows, I've actually got a lot of tabs in here that are holdovers from the live server. Now I'm on Homecoming, and that's because I still kept the install file and the import information and the UI loadout that I had on the live server. So some of these, I can tell you who they were for. This mix was for a channel that had K Parfait in it. Rook was for Rookery. ABR, mm, I can't even remember what that one was for. Protector, BOA, well, Protector Service BOA was a super group, I think like ABR. Fast was for Fast TFs, Guardian for the Guardian server, Junk for Triumph Watch, Nisper X, her channel. So keeping in mind, you have all these four separate windows to work with. And you can start going in and doing more fine detailed example of what's going in them. You can see here in the pop-up window that on Homecoming, I'm in a Guardian server, a Torchbearer server, a Triumph Watch server, an Ultra server, a Victory Global, and a Virtue server. Now, whether or not these actually have any people in them is a completely different question. Because if I scroll down through them, okay, there's someone over here in Guardian with me. There's someone in here with uh, Triumph Watch. Nobody in Victory Global. Nobody else in Virtue. A couple people in Torchbearer. And if you're really, really interested, you can do like a search function. And this is wrong search. I want channel search. Okay, join channel. No, that doesn't give it to me either. Where is the channel search? Oh, channel search right there. And scroll down servers and see what's here. Virtue has 30 members. Only one of us is online right now, which is me. Victory Global, uh, 90 members. Only one online right now. Ultra, which apparently is set. Oh, would help if I gave it decapitalization. Okay, apparently it's set to private. Oh, yes, it is. Going through the different channels so you can see, who you might be talking to, get a little bit of more information on who's online. And the next step would be once you've decided on what channels you're joining, who you're going to go talk to, you can start mucking about with the actual interface itself. In this case, we have a function to, if you right click, a function to add tab. And if you click on a name here and hit add, you'll note that the name at the top automatically changes. So now we have a tab down here that just says Ultra. All right. And you can also do, if you right click again, mouse driven interface, you can change the name. So we'll just change this to UT. And now down here are tab changes. We can do the same with this one that's listed for Guardian. And we'll just do the thing is, I know that, and if you look over at chat and team and PM, we'll just do GC for right now. There is a minimum size to which you can scroll the UI down to, and there is a minimum dedicated channel to them. So now, if I'm go and decide that I want to talk in Ultra, and we'll just do good morning, you'll see that the UT tab highlighted. Ultra didn't appear in any other tabs, but there it is. Now, if you just leave your mouse button on A for active, and there's no little scroll up. Okay, there's a scroll up. About to go. There's a scroll up on the servers I'm normally on. And you can see your mouse over. We got active. And as you change your tab, the default channel changes as well. Here, local is set to default. So if I'm on A for active and I'm in the chat tab, all chat is now local. If I'm in team, you can see down here my uh, icon has changed to team. Now everything that I type will be in team. Now private message doesn't actually have a default channel set to it. But one of the things you can do is you can hit the backspace button and it will automatically reply to anyone who talks to you. And in order to show this, we will bring on Orange Reptanium as soon as that installation finishes updating. It's taking a little longer than I thought. Okay. We'll come back to that to the PM channel. And then onward to Guardian. Only changes to GC, so I don't get it confused with thinking I have an Unreal Tournament channel hanging around somewhere. Alright, the next thing that you can do in terms of tab management is move the tabs around. If you click and hold on a tab, you can move it to a different window. More importantly, you can also split windows. If you just hold it in the middle, you can split, and this number 4 up here can become two separate more chat windows. And you can just move tabs between windows, mouse over, move, move, move.
You can resize the mid tabs. Now, occasionally, you'll get something where a bar maybe jumped all the way down. And I may not be able to force it right now. But if you get a point where a bar jumps all the way down, you can just grab on a tab and move it back up, move it around. There's a docking function built in here somewhere. Not exactly sure how it was supposed to work, other than badly. Okay, there we go. It's finished loading. And you can also put multiple channels in a single tab, and whichever one you have set for default. We'll set Triumph Watch to set default. And although this is mix, when I click on mix and I take the tab name, it'll actually be, and this is something else to pay attention to, is the name down here will be the default channel. Now, if you've only got one channel in your tab, you cannot, once you're clicked on that tab and you're on active, you cannot mistell. Because unless you are hitting a bind and creating a chat channel built into the game itself. I want accept. Oh, good, I didn't kick myself off. That would have been embarrassing. It's like you have disconnected yourself. One moment. Okay, logging Rapiditanium in. And, oh yeah, she was working on a supergroup base, so there's someone who looked like they're using one of my costumes. Alright. And there I am, standing on top of a building. Which building? Chat. Okay, you may have just noticed that the PM box has lit up. And that's because Orange Reptanium just sent me a message. Alright. In order to reply to a message, you can just hit the backspace button, and there it goes. You have the name of whoever was talking to you. Other methods, too. You can right-click on a player and do chat, and this brings up their name. Now, let's be a little funky here. I need one more window. And other thing while I'm waiting for the next one to load up. Alright, you can also do info on a right click and see what information the character has. I want Excelsior. Oh, there are no characters on here.
That shouldn't be a problem. Let's go Torchbearer. Oof. And we'll bring her over. Transfer. I have no idea how many server transfers I have. Shard transfer tokens remaining 5. Okay, not a problem. All right. Swapping to Excelsior. And all right, let's bring her in. All right, so you have info on the right click. Let's get those pop-ups out of the way. And invite Orange Rabbit Tanium. And we may have to do it like. Give me a second. I'm managing 3 different windows. Okay, I think we can work with this. Apparently, I needed to set up another fancy zone. Oh well, we'll roll with this. Okay, now, although you can't see it, Orange Rabbitanium has joined the team. And if I right click, I can do chat to team leader. And you'll see that my chat window has gone to TTL Orange Rabbitanium. So I'm going to send a message, and it says goes to Orange Rabbitanium's team leader. And then I'm going to respond back from that person. And we now have a third party has entered, declare chicken. Multiple, uh, multiple different people that you're talking to in private messages, things can get a little ugly. Especially if you're in, say, a certain erotic roleplay mode. Yeah, pay attention to who you're responding to. But again, if you keep your tabs isolated and separated, you're not going to accidentally hit a button. Especially if you can't see, if you're like in your supergroup channel, your chat channel, whatever, you can't, and someone's sending you private messages, if you're not looking at them, if you don't have them on screen in front of you, then it's very difficult to accidentally misclick, or at least you've raised the barrier between yourself rather than relying on macros and having multiple channels display all their information at once. Such as in the primary chat channel where you've got local going on, broadcasts going on, the private messages going on, team going on, all of that, all of those chat channel records at once going on. If you keep everything isolated using the UI tools that are provided, you've raised the barrier for making an accidental mistake in who you're talking to. All right, other things that we can also notice in the UI, because Orange Rabbitanium is presently level 25, and she's under the effects of the Super Sidekick system. Well, if she's been Super Sidekicked up to level 25, that means the team leader must be level 26. And this is another thing to pay attention to when you're looking at somebody's level. If they've got like an icon here where it's blue, or it's something looks off, and other things you can check. You can do info and look at their actual level. You can also access info from the drop down on the targeting window. But it is something to keep in mind when you're looking at is the level of the character and what level they've actually earned. All right. Other things with the UI is you do have your team, you have your league, you have your friends. Your friends also includes your server list, as I was doing earlier. You've got your super group, you've got your email, and here you can see there's a checksum going on. And this is something where I strongly suggest you do. And then if you're sending yourself something, only send it by replying to that email. Don't do new and then type a name in if you're trying to send stuff yourself. Just use reply, because if you're using the reply function, you've automatically filled in your subject, and all you have to worry about is making sure your attachment is in place, and you've also got a message here. So all you have to do is just move your enhancement over, and then all you have to do is just send. You've already got everything else filled out. So that's another thing. LFG, which gives us the events that we can presently go to, which aren't a lot at this level. Tab, which gives us the option to send to a specific tab. And then our aforementioned windows. And then you have the full drop down arrow right there to minimize or bring your entire chat window up. So that's an overview of the chat window system, showing you don't need to use macro to manage your channels. Some of the keyboard commands that you probably might use, because they can be useful, the backspace command to automatically reply to somebody can be useful to chat. And Windows, actually, I think it's under prompts, controls, schema. What is my mouse scroll? Okay, it is set to 20. Felt like it was a little slow there. All right, Windows. Down here, we have our chat, the chat options. Chat balloons will show you chat balloons when somebody else is chatting at you or to you. Chat font size, whether or not you want to log chat, log private messages, and kind of something from that might be familiar to Linux and Unix users, the individual name colors that will assign a name to any assign a different color to a name. You also now have chat timestamps and a timestamp color if you really want to keep track of when somebody talked and who they talked to or were talking at. So those are other options that are in here. And you can see the chat colors have already kicked in. I'm looking for group. Ignatius J. Riley has now gotten a pink color. BBA Murr has now gotten, I guess, a gray color. And that's something where, again, if you want to take an additional Europe, let's go give this person a flyby buff. Get back here. Let me buff you. All right. Oh, I just saw a yellow flash down there. Who's that? Who's that? Oh, there's another. Let me buff you. Here, have a buff. Okay, track just hit. What is this? Overclock. Actually, it's got a pretty good beat going for it. All right. So that's a quick overview of the chat system, working with it, managing it, explaining the tabs function, and you're able to move tabs around. You're able to split windows. Lots of all the different things that you can do. And again, none of this stuff is, collectively speaking, new to the game. It's been in City of Heroes for at least some of these functions. The moving tabs around, assigning channels, been there since 2003, 2004.